Welcome back to Rides Reborn. This week's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go over the costs and the history of the BMW F80 M3. If you haven't watched any previous videos, you should definitely go check them out. Let's get into the video. As you can see, we already installed the seats, which wasn't a too hard job, but definitely took some time to get them back in and to test all the modules. This is what it looks like with all of the seats installed. As you can see, the seats are in very good condition, except for a few scratches, but that's normal for a used car. Now to the cost. The most expensive, of course, was the car, about $20,000, and plus fees, delivery fee, and taxes, about $25,000, which is crazy to think about because it's a 2018 BMW F80 M3 with around 23,000 miles. Yeah, pretty good deal. At the end of the video, we will be going over the parts one by one, so you can see what we really had to buy for this car. And a funny story about this car, or the process of buying it, is we were on the way to look at it in Tampa at the Copart lot because it's 2 hours away. And on the drive there, we were bidding for the car and then bought it. And when we arrived at the Copart lot, we couldn't look at the car anymore because once you buy the car, but we haven't paid for it yet, you can't look at it anymore because then you could just say that you don't want it anymore if you see any bad damages. So that's why they don't let you look at it anymore after buying it. And yeah, so we technically bought it without looking at it, which was a huge risk, but we were willing to take it. And after about 1 to 2 weeks, the car finally came, and we were all very excited. Here's a quick video of the car pulling up. And now to the cost. Most of them were interior-wise, like seat rails, modules, and we also tinted the windows. And the cost for the interior parts was about $3,500, which isn't too bad for a flooded vehicle. And exterior-wise, we only had to buy 2 new things. It was 2 underbody panels that stay at the front, and they were completely cracked and broken because at Copart they carry the cars with forklift because they don't have any value to them because they're just crashed or have some damage. These are the panels which we had to replace. That was the cost for some of the things that we had to repair on the car, and in the cost are also some mods which you guys see in the next video. And we also have something very big planned with the car. And don't forget to leave a comment for some feedback and to tell us what you guys liked about the video. Now we can get into the history of the car. When we bought it, it was flooded because of a recent hurricane, and here you can see the water line. When we saw that the car was for auction, we saw the vision and knew that there weren't any important ECUs and electronics that low in the car, so that's why we bought it. And the water was also too low to go into the diff or parts of the engine. It's also crazy to see how the insurance handles these cars. They saw the water in the car and immediately wrote it off as a salvage rebuild title, and they said that the car had around a $50,000 retail value and a $37,000 repair costs. As we can see, that was definitely not the case. We only paid 1/10 to repair all of the things that were broken. And it's crazy to see that the insurance just writes these cars off, even though they barely have anything, and that they have very high repair costs, even though that's not the case. And this is again why they carry the cars like that, because they don't have any value to them. We just want to say this is not the way the insurance should handle these cars and that they need to change this. It's good on one side because you get a good car at a reduced price, but the value also decreases with the certificate and the title. The F80 is anything other than done. We had to buy so many new modules because everything that sat low was full of corrosion and not useful anymore. But luckily we could buy every module off of eBay, which made it really easy. Here's also a few wiring connectors that were corroded, but we could luckily fix this with acid, but you have to be careful with using it because it's very toxic and dangerous. As you can see by the thumbnail, we had a very big problem which we didn't think we had, and it was probably also the most expensive out of all the repair costs. After having everything back installed in the interior, we found out that it was the main ECU that sits on the passenger side on the bottom. And as I said, we noticed it after having everything installed, like the seats. This meant we had to buy a new ECU and that we had to code everything onto it that the car is equipped with. This meant we had to look for a matching ECU with the exact same part number, and this was way more difficult than we thought. After searching US-wide for a used and affordable part, we realized that the problem became global. Brain surgery is not easy, so we had to figure out what has to be done. So we figured we have to clone the old ECU onto the new ECU so we can get the same key codes, mileage, VIN, and so on. So for this whole process, we found a good guy in Miami who did this for us for around $300. And he only did the programming part, not the coding. And after getting the FEM, which is a code for the ECU, and installing it back to the car, we found out that we had our next problem, and it was that we had 140 error codes, which meant it wasn't a small problem anymore, it was major. So we had to put some more thoughts into this to find out what we do next. And after studying the codes, we found out that the brain couldn't communicate to the rest of the car. So we had to introduce each ECU to each other that's in the car, which is the actual coding procedure. So we programmed all ECUs so we have a clean car to move on with. And this whole coding process reduced the error codes to under 10. And all the rest will get solved, and we will let you guys know what the conclusion will be. Now I will list all the parts one by one with all the costs so you can see what we actually had to buy for the car. These are the modules which we needed for all 4 seats. The top ones, we only needed 3 of them for the back and the passenger seat, and the bottom one is for the driver's seat, and this was a total of about $230. These are the controllers that are on the side of the seats, and we needed one for both sides, and this is a total of $110. These are the seat rails with all of the motors and wiring, and the same thing here. We needed one for each seat because they were completely rusty, and a total of around $580. These are the seatbelts, and we did need new seatbelts. We only needed the motor of it because the old one was corroded and didn't work anymore. This was a total of about $300. These are the underbody panels which we had to buy because they were cracked from Copart carrying them with forklifts, and a total of around $130. We also had to buy these seatbelt buckles for both sides because they were corroded and not working anymore, and a total of $140. We had to buy a new switch for the back seat to turn the heated seat on because that got some corrosion on it and didn't work. And we also had to buy a new bottom seat cushion for the passenger side because in the old one, the sensor mat that detects if someone is there or not didn't work anymore. This was a total of $340. And finally, this is the main ECU, which we had to buy because the old one was corroded on some parts. As you can see, it says Japan shops, which I still don't understand, but if it works, it works. This was around $190, and it took the longest time to set up and to get it ready to put it back into the car. These are most of the parts which I just went through, and these are just a few which totaled up to around $1,820. So the total of what we are at right now is $27,120. We also want to say we have a very interesting new project on the way, and that we were very excited for you guys to meet the younger sibling of the F80. Same DNA, fresh attitude. Stay tuned. Let us know what you guys think it is and what you guys want us to do with the F80. Thanks for tuning into Rides Reborn today. It would help out a lot if you could like and subscribe. If you haven't watched any previous videos, definitely go check them out. Drive safe and stay tuned.